Kriez had never seen a turkey before. The strange smell from the human colony kitchens floated on the wind, making his sharp nose twitch. Somewhere beyond the metal walls and dusty roads, people were laughing, eating, hugging. He didn't understand the words they used. Thanksgiving. What were they giving thanks for? He sat in the shadow of a broken satellite dish hidden in the corner of an old junkyard. Rusted machines surrounded him, his only company since he arrived on this dusty outer rim planet. Kriez was not from here, not even close. His skin was a pale, soft blue, with tiny silver lines running along his arms like glowing tattoos. His eyes, large and bright, always searched the skies, always watching, always waiting. It had been almost 2 Earth years since he crashed here. His ship, what was left of it, lay buried under junk, forgotten like everything else. He had escaped. The war left his burning planet behind, lost his family, his people, his world. Now he lived here, alone that day like every day. He ate the same dry food pellets and drank filtered water from a cracked purifier. He had learned some human words by listening to radios and watching old video logs. But no one talked to him directly. People feared him, or maybe they just didn't care. He didn't blame them. He looked strange, sounded strange, and he stayed away. Safer that way. But on this strange day, this Thanksgiving, something felt different. A small voice echoed across the junkyard. "Hey, over there." Kriez ducked behind a broken engine, peered through a gap. A young human boy stood at the gate, eyes wide. Maybe 10 years old. His skin was dark, his curly hair wild. He pointed toward Kriez, but not in fear. In wonder, "There's someone in there," the boy said behind him. A woman rushed forward. His mother, maybe. She grabbed the boy's hand and pulled him away. "Stay away from that place," she said sharply. "It's dangerous." The boy looked back. Right at Kriez, he waved. Kriez blinked. No one had ever waved at him before. That night, Kriez didn't sleep. He kept thinking about that boy, that wave, that smile. Then, just before midnight, he heard a sound. Crunch, crunch. Someone walking. He slipped silently from his shelter and climbed up a scrap heap to see. A human was there, not the boy. A man. Tall, broad shoulders, wearing an old military jacket. He had short gray hair and tired eyes. The man looked around once, then placed a small bag near the junkyard gate. Then he walked away. Kriez waited, 1 minute, to no sound. He climbed down, slowly approached the bag. Inside was food. Real food, not pellets. A cooked slice of meat, some vegetables. Even a small piece of sweet bread, still warm. He didn't understand why. He looked around, but the man was gone. Kriez sat on the cold metal ground and took a bite. Flavor exploded in his mouth. His eyes watered, not from spice, from something else. It reminded him of home, of real food, of family dinners long ago. That night, something changed inside him. He wasn't sure what. Tea, but it felt important. The next day, the man returned. This time he didn't leave the food at the gate. He walked into the junkyard, slowly, carefully. Kriez watched from a distance. "I know you're there," the man said. His voice was rough but calm. "I saw you yesterday. I brought tools. I figured your place could use some work." Kriez stayed hidden. "I don't want anything from you," the man added. "Just thought no one should be alone today." He put down the tools and food, then sat on a metal crate. Waiting minutes passed. Then Kriez stepped out, shaking, nervous. Ready to run? The man didn't move. Kriez pointed to himself. "Kriez," he said softly. The man smiled. "Rain, Captain Rain." A long silence followed. Then, slowly, Kriez sat across from him. Rain opened the food container. You ever had mashed potatoes? Kriez tilted his head. Mash? What? Rain laughed gently. You'll like it. They ate together in silence. Two strangers, two survivors. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the junkyard glowed in gold light. Kriez looked at Rain. Why help me? Rain stared at the sky for a moment before answering. Because I know what it's like to have no one. T pointed to his chest. Lost my team, my family, my purpose. Thanksgiving used to be about family for me. Now, I guess it's about sharing what's left. Kriez didn't know what to say. Words felt too small for the feeling in his chest. He just nodded. Thanks. Giving, he said slowly. Rain smiled. Yeah, you get it. Later that night, as Kriez returned to his shelter, he noticed something strange. On the old metal wall near his door, someone had scratched a message in the rust. You are not alone. Kriez reached out and touched the words. His fingers trembled. For the first time in years, he believed it. Asterisk, the next morning, Kriez woke up to the sound of metal clinking. He sat up quickly, ears sharp. His thin fingers reached for the old plasma rod he kept beside him. Not much power left in it, but it could scare someone off if needed. But when he peeked out from the rusted crate that was his door, saw a familiar figure. Captain Rain, again. Rain was not holding a weapon. He wasn't even looking around. He was working. Using a small welding tool, he repaired a broken pipe near the water tank. The same tank Kriez had been trying to fix for months. Kriez narrowed his eyes. What was this human doing? Why? Rain paused, wiped sweat from his brow, and spoke without turning around. Morning, Kriez. Kriez blinked. The man had known he was watching the whole time. You fix water, Kriez asked. Trying, Rain said. But this old junk's a mess. It's love. Like everything else here. Kriez stepped closer. Why you help? Rain looked at him for the first time that morning. You ask a lot of questions for someone who hides so well, he said with a small smile. Kriez tilted his head, confused. Rain's voice softened. Because it's the right thing to do. Kriez looked at the tools, the effort, the man. T still didn't understand fully, but something told him this human wasn't lying. That afternoon, Rain returned with more than just tools. He brought another meal, 2 plates, this time, one for himself, one for Kriez. He set them down on a flat metal sheet between 2 crates. Tables, not much, he said, but it'll do. Kriez stared at the food. Real vegetables. Warm rice. A piece of some kind of spiced meat. He sat slowly, uncertain. Rain didn't speak. He just ate calmly, giving Kriez space. After a moment, Kriez picked up the strange earth utensil. What? Rain called a fork and tried the food. Warm, salty, satisfying. But it wasn't just the food, it was the feeling. For the first time in years, someone had made a place for him at their table. After a while, Rain leaned back against the wall. You know, he said, you're not the first outsider I've met. Kriez looked up. Outsider. Rain nodded. Different, strange, unwanted. He sighed, voice distant. My old unit. We were peacekeepers. We worked with aliens. Not all humans liked that. After the war, we were forgotten. Thrown away. Like this junkyard? Kriez frowned. You left behind. Rain looked at him, just like you. For a long time, they said nothing. Only the wind moved, blowing dust across the ground. Then Kriez asked, Your people not come back? Rain shook his head. No. And I stopped waiting. He looked at Kriez with kind, tired eyes. But maybe I was waiting for something else. The next few days passed slowly but peacefully. Each morning, Rain returned. He brought tools, food, and sometimes stories. Kriaz listened carefully, his English improving with each word. He learned about Earth, about wars and peace, about sports and songs, about how humans celebrated things like birthdays and something called Christmas. Rain also asked questions. What was your world like? Did you have family? Why did you run? At first, Kriaz said little, but slowly he shared. He told Rain about the Valari, his people. He spoke of tall crystal towers, glowing forests, floating lakes. He told him how war came, how machines rained fire from the sky, how he escaped in a broken scout ship, leaving everything behind. I thought I was last, Kriaz said one night. The last Valari. Rain didn't say anything for a moment. Then he quietly said, I used to think I was the last good man. They looked at each other in that silence. A strange bond grew stronger. Not just survival, something more. One evening, Rain brought an old metal box. He opened it and pulled out a small speaker. Music filled the air. Soft, slow, human music. Kriaz froze. The sound was strange, but beautiful. Rain smiled. You ever hear jazz? Kriaz shook his head. No, but it feels like memories. Rain chuckled. Yeah, it does that. They sat there, the strange music playing between junk and broken satellites. Two lost souls finding peace in a song. But peace never lasts long. Late that night, after Rain left, Kriaz went to explore the back of the Junkyard Dan area he rarely visited. He had noticed something strange. A blinking red light half buried under scrap. He pulled away some metal panels. Dust rose into the air. Beneath them, he found a hatch, old alien, and locked. It had a Valari symbol on it. His people's mark. His heart raced. He reached out. The hatch opened with a soft hiss. Inside, in darkness, something hummed. He stepped back. What had he just found? And who or what was inside? The hatch made a quiet hissing sound as it slid open. Kriaz stood still, heart pounding in his chest. The red blinking light inside the hatch grew brighter. Steady now. This wasn't just a box of junk. It was a ship. His ship. The inside was dark and cold. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Kriaz stepped down into the shadows, one hand on the wall, the other gripping a flashlight. The air smelled like old wires and forgotten memories. Everything was broken, power cells drained, cables torn, glass cracked. But the walls still glowed faintly with Valari symbols. His language? His home. He hadn't seen these symbols in years. As he walked deeper, his fingers touched a panel. The metal was familiar, smooth, warm, alive with faint energy. This was not a human ship. This was Valari. Tech. His tech. Kriaz opened a control panel and typed in a code. The screen flickered. Language appeared. His language. System. Partial reboot, possible warning. Core damage detected. Stasis unit. 1 FUNCTON. His eyes widened. Stasis unit. Someone might be inside. He rushed to the back of the small vessel where a silver door stood slightly ajar. With shaking hands, he pushed it open. Inside, a glass pod glowed softly. Fog covered the inside. Something or someone was sleeping inside. He wiped the glass. A child. VELAR. Tiny. Blue skin. Short white hair. His chest tightened. He stared at the child's face. He knew her. It was Laura, his niece, his sister's daughter. He had thought she was gone, lost when the city fell. But here she was, frozen in time, alive. Tears ran down his face. He touched the pod gently. I found you. Kriaz knew he couldn't wake her yet. Not without power, not without help. He needed someone who understood. Machines he needed. Rain. By sunrise, Kriaz was already waiting at the junkyard gate. As soon as Rain appeared, Kriaz ran to him, grabbing his arm. You must come, he said, breathing fast. Ship, mine, found it. Someone inside. Rain didn't ask questions. He followed without a word. When he saw the ship, he whistled softly. Looks like someone dropped a treasure here years ago. It's my scout ship, Kriaz said. From the war. I didn't know. I didn't know she was here. She, my niece. Lura. Rain's eyes widened. A survivor? Kriaz nodded. Yes, but weak. I need your help. The power cells are dead. Rain didn't hesitate. He dropped his bag and opened a toolkit. Let's bring her home then. They worked together for hours, rewiring cables, replacing power fuses, connecting backup energy from Rain's own gear. Rain even broke apart one of his personal drones, just to get a working stabilizer chip. Kriaz watched him, confused. You give much. For me? Rain wiped sweat from his forehead. You'd. The same? Kriaz thought about it. I hope so. At last, the stasis pod beeped. Power restored. The glass began to warm. Lights turned green. The child inside stirred. Her fingers twitching. Kriaz gasped. She's waking, he whispered. Rain stepped back. She needs to see someone she knows. Kriaz knelt beside the pod as the glass lifted slowly. Laura's eyes fluttered open, soft silver like starlight. She stared up at him, confused. Uncle? Yes, he whispered. It's me. You're safe now. She smiled barely. Then tears rolled down her cheeks. You came back. They brought her out of the ship and into the warm sunlight. Rain gave her a thermal blanket and some soft food. She sat quietly, leaning against Kriaz, her small hand holding his tightly. I thought I was alone, she said. Kriaz looked at Rain. So did I. Later that evening, Kriaz pulled Rain aside. You saved her. You didn't have to, but you did. Rain shrugged. That's what humans do. Or what we're supposed to do. Kriaz nodded slowly. Then I want to do the same. For you? Rain raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? There's more inside the ship. Data, maps, warnings. My people recorded everything before the war ended. Rain leaned closer. Serious now. What kind of warnings? Kriaz looked up at the sky. Not all enemies died when the war ended. He paused. I think some followed me here. As night fell, a soft wind blew across the junkyard. The stars above shimmered like eyes, and far in the distance, in the black sky beyond the colony, something blinked red. Not a star, not a plain touch, something else. Watching, waiting, asterisk. Night came without warning. Dark clouds covered the stars, and the wind blew harder than usual. Something about the air felt wrong. Kriaz stood at the top of the junkyard tower, a rusty old crane. From here, he could see the colony lights blinking far away. Normally peaceful, normally safe, but not tonight, because now he saw them. 3 lights in the sky, red, silent, moving too slowly to be stars. Too smooth to be human ships, he froze. The shape, the color, the pattern of their flight, he knew it all. Enemy scouts, the same type that destroyed his city. The same kind that hunted his people across galaxies. They were here, and they had found him. Kriaz climbed down quickly and ran to Rain's shelter. Rain was inside, fixing an old drone. Lura lay nearby, asleep under warm blankets, breathing easier now. Kriaz didn't knock. They're here, he said. Rain looked up. Who? Kriaz's voice was cold. the ones who burned my world. Rain stood. His face changed, no smile now. Just sharp awareness. You're sure? I saw the scouts, 3 of them, west sky. They'll come by ground next, quietly. Rain grabbed his gear bag and pulled out a compact rifle. Then, we don't wait. They moved fast through the junkyard, checking corners, stacking metal, hiding important supplies. Rain placed old auto turrets in high spots and reprogrammed them. These were used for wild animals, he said, not war machines. But they'll slow something down. Kriez uncovered a hidden Valari tech box, buried deep beneath an old cargo crate. Inside was a small drone, round, floating, and quiet. Scout Eye, he said. Short range, stealth. He powered it up and sent it into the night sky. On the small screen, they watched the feed, cold ground, empty fields, silent trees. Then, movement, 3 tall figures, cloaked in black armor, walking toward the colony. Rain's eyes narrowed. They're not heading for you. Kriez frowned. No, they're going toward the colony. Rain cursed under his breath. Vel. Pretend to be traders or visitors. Slip in, plant something, and vanish. Kriez felt his blood chill. We must warn the people. Rain looked at him. They don't trust you, and they barely trust me. Kriez clenched his fists. Then we show them the truth. By morning, the enemy had entered the colony. Not with guns. Not with ships. They wore disguises, fake IDs, translator chips, even fake smiles. But Kriez saw. Through it, so did Rain. Together, they stood at the colony gate, blocking the path. One of the cloaked aliens stepped forward. Tall, yellow eyes. Voice too perfect. We come in peace. Rain lifted his rifle. Try again. The alien smiled wider. You're not in charge here, human? Rain raised an eyebrow. No, but I'm not alone. He nodded. Kreez stepped forward. No fear. In his eyes, these are Skarn. They lie, they burn, they take. The crowd behind the colony walls whispered. Some humans looked confused, some scared. Others angry. One of the colonists shouted, You expect us to believe him? He's not even human. Rain turned toward the crowd. He is more human than most of you, he said. The Skarn's fake smile disappeared. Enough talk. It growled. Its arms shifted, metal parts forming into a weapon. Kriez reacted instantly. With a sharp move, he slammed a flash beacon into the ground. Light burst in every direction. People screamed. The Skarn fired. Rain dove behind cover, pulling Kriez with him. The fight had begun. The colony guards, shocked at first, joined in when they saw the truth. The Skarn dropped their disguises, revealing dark armor and energy blades. Rain fired carefully. Kriez used his drone to blind and distract. The junkyard auto turrets activated, spitting fire across the field. People ran for shelter. Some stayed to help. Together, humans and one Valari fought side by side. Kriez cornered one of the Skarn behind. A fuel barrel. You followed me here, he hissed. The Skarn laughed. You brought the war to them. Kriez's eyes glowed. No, I brought a warning. He pressed a button on his drone controller. The drone flew into the Skarn's weapon and exploded. Silence followed. The remaining Skarn fled. The colony was safe for now. Later, as smoke cleared and people gathered the wounded, the same boy from before, the one who waved at Kriez, walked up. He looked up at Kriez and said, You saved us. Kriez knelt down, eyes gentle. I just didn't want to run anymore. Rain came over, face dirty and tired. They'll be back, he said. Kriez nodded. Then we prepare. Rain smiled. Together. They looked out toward the dark sky. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as protectors. The junkyard was quiet again. The battle was over, but the scars remained. Smoke still floated in the air. Burned metal and black marks stained the ground. A few broken, scarred weapons lay scattered like bones. But inside the small workshop, a soft, humming sound filled the room. Kriez stood beside the old Valari ship. Rain leaned over a control panel, hands greasy from hours of work, and Lurath, little Valari girl, was awake. Watching them both with wide silver eyes, they had won the first fight. But they knew it wouldn't be the last. "We need to know what's inside," Rain said, tapping a blinking screen on the ship's wall. If this ship carried a full Valari data core, it could be everything. Everything. Kriez asked. Rain nodded. Blueprints, defense systems, history, enemy info. Stuff we could use to fight back. Kriez placed a hand gently on the panel. The old metal glowed under his touch, recognizing him. Then, let's wake it up. The ship hummed louder. Inside, the data core came to life. Blue lights blinked in a spiral. A soft voice, female, digital familiar, spoke in Valari. Core online. Access confirmed. Commander Kriez Valaritith. One encrypted file detected. Life class level. DNA match, 98%. Rain frowned. Life class, what does that mean? Kriez didn't answer right away. His hand trembled slightly. Life class means something living is inside the data. Important, not just knowledge, not just weapons. Rain leaned closer. You mean like another stasis pod? Kriez shook his head. No. This is something else. They opened the file. A 3D image appeared in the air. A spinning sphere of light, surrounded by millions of tiny points, each one a star. A map. The last known location of surviving Valari ships. The room fell silent. Kriez stared at the projection. Breath caught in his chest. These are survivors, he whispered. My people. Still alive. Rain's eyes widened. You're not the last. Kriez's knees gave out, and he dropped to the floor. Eyes locked on the stars above him. He wasn't alone. He never had been. Laura walked up beside him. We can find them, she asked softly. Kriez reached out, pulling her close. We will, I promise. Rain watched them for a long moment, then stepped back. He knew this wasn't just a victory, it was a mission, a future. But then, the ship beeped again. A second file, encrypted red warning lights. Kriez stood slowly and accessed it. More data spilled out, reports, transmissions, video logs, Skarn fleets, secret plans, colony targets. Rain leaned over the screen. Wait, that's this sector. That's us. Kriez's voice was quiet. They didn't just follow me. They've been here longer than I thought. One name blinked red. Nova Station 9A, major human colony, 2 days away by shuttle. Rain straightened. There's a festival there tomorrow. Thousands of people. They'll attack, Kriez said. They want fear. They want chaos. Rain grabbed his bag. Then we leave tonight. Before they left, Kriez stood under the stars again. He looked up, holding the memory sphere from the data core, a small silver orb that glowed softly in his hand. In it were songs, voices, family records, pieces of Valari life. He closed his eyes and whispered a name, his sister. Rena, your daughter lives. I found her. I'll protect her. He slipped the orb into his belt pouch and turned toward the small junkyard hut where Lura waited. Rain was already loading the transport. Kriez lifted Laura into the front seat beside him. She smiled faintly, clutching the blanket Rain had given her days ago. You ready? Rain asked. Kriez nodded. Let's stop a war. They flew low across The desert, silent, fast. The ship was old, but quick Velara tech, combined with human fixes. A strange, powerful mix. Rain handled the controls while Kriez read the warning messages from the core. Enemy agents were already inside. Nova Station 9, disguised, waiting. They'll use the crowd, Rain said. Hide in it, then strike. Expose them first, Kriez replied. Then stop them. Rain smirked. I like how you think. As the sun began to rise, the lights of Nova Station 9 appeared on the horizon. Tall towers, busy streets, colorful banners everywhere. Celebration music played across the city speakers. No one knew, no one expected the shadows that moved among them, but Kriez and Rain were coming. And this time, they weren't running. They were ready to fight back together. Asterisk, the sun rose over Nova Station 9, golden and bright. The colony streets were alive with music, flags, and the smell of cooking food. People laughed, hugged, and danced in the open plazas. Today was Thanksgiving, but under the celebration, something dangerous was moving. Kriez stood near a crowded fountain, hidden under a long brown cloak. His blue skin was covered. His eyes scanned the crowd. Beside him, Captain Rain wore a simple jacket and a calm face. But his hand stayed near the small weapon on his belt. Lure waited safely in a nearby hostel. Protected by a trusted friend of Rain's, she didn't understand all of it yet. But she knew her uncle was fighting for something big. For family, for peace. 3 Skarn agents confirmed. Kriez whispered into a tiny comm on his wrist. Moving through South Plaza, masks on, weapons hidden. Rain's voice replied, low and steady. Copy. I see one near the food tents. Other 2 by the speaker tower. They had planned carefully. The night before, they mapped every inch of Nova Station, marked escape routes. Watched the enemy, learned their pattern. Today, the Skarn would strike. During the main speech, a sudden attack in a happy crowd. Maximum fear. Maximum damage. But not if Kriez and Rain stopped them first. At 10 a.m., the colony governor stepped onto the high stage. Microphones turned on. People clapped. Rain's voice spoke softly. Now or never. Kriez moved. He weaved through the crowd quickly, quietly. He passed humans laughing, holding drinks, tossing food to children. None of them knew they were seconds from death. At the base of the speaker tower, Kriez spotted the first SKR. It stood disguised as a worker, adjusting cables. But Kriez saw the armor under the coat. The way its hand twitched. The shape of the weapon under the crate. He didn't wait. With one swift motion, Kriez slammed his fist into the Skarn's arm, knocking the blaster free. The creature roared, dropping its disguise. Dark armor shimmered into view. People screamed. Panic rippled through the plaza. And just like that, the fight began. Rain heard the scream and rushed forward. Pulling a small flash bomb from his jacket, he threw it into the crowd bright white. Light flashed, stunning the second Skarn, trying to pull a detonator. Rain tackled him to the ground. Not today, he growled, punching hard. Nearby, the third Skarn climbed the stage, aiming at the governor. Kriez saw it. He ran, fast and low. Grabbing a thrown baton from the ground, he launched it like a spear. It hit the Skarn's leg. The alien stumbled. Rain raised his weapon and fired. The shot hit. Clean, non-lethal, but strong. The Skarn dropped. The crowd scattered, guards rushed in. Drones flew overhead, scanning. Kriez held up his hands. We are not the enemy. Rain showed. His ID, these are Skarn infiltrators. We have proof. The governor, shaking but alive, looked at the broken weapons on the stage. I saw it, he said. They tried to kill me. Rain turned to the crowd. We stopped them, but they'll come again. Kriya stepped forward, pulling the small memory orb from his belt. He placed it on the ground. A glowing star map appeared. Ships, routes, attacks. These are their plans, he said. They don't care if you are human. They only want power. There was silence. Then, someone clapped. A woman in the crowd, then another person and another. The applause grew. Not for the fight, for the protection. For the truth, for the courage. Later that evening, as the sun set, Kriya sat beside a long wooden table. This time, he wasn't outside the colony. He was in the middle of it. People passed him food, smiled at him. Children asked him questions, won't even touch the glowing lines on his skin. Rain sat beside him, bandaged arm resting on the table. You did good, Rain said. Craze looked around. This is Thanksgiving. Rain nodded. It's not about turkey. It's about sharing what you have, no matter where someone comes from. Kriya smiled softly. Then, I am thankful for you. Rain raised his glass, and I'm thankful for the alien who saved the colony. They clinked glasses. Laura came running, holding a small drawing. She gave it to Kreez. It showed the three of them, Kriya's, Rain, and herself, standing in front of a starship. Behind them were smiling humans, and Valari together. Craze looked at her. What's this? Our future, she said. And for the first time, Krez believed it. The stars were quiet. Above the dusty planet, above the colony, above the junkyard, nothing moved in the night sky. No enemy lights, no shadow ships. Just stars, and for the first time in years, Kriez wasn't afraid of the silence. He was finally at peace. The junkyard had changed. Where rust and garbage once covered the land, now there were lights. Clean paths, small solar panels. A working water tank. Kriez and Rain had rebuilt it together, not just for themselves, for the people who came. Next, for those who had nowhere to go. A week had passed since the Skarn attack was stopped. News of the event spread fast. Videos, reports, photos of Kriya standing beside human guards, holding a child in his arms, protecting strangers. Some people still doubted, some still feared. But most, they listened, and slowly. Things began to change. Today was a special day. Not Thanksgiving, not a holiday. Something better. Today, Krez was building a table. A real one, from smooth scrap wood, old ship panels, and strong bolts. He worked with his hands, measuring every piece carefully. Laura helped tutoring stars on the corners with paint she found in Rain's supplies. Rain watched them both from his chair. Sipping tea? You sure about this? He asked with a grin. Kriez looked up. Yes. If humans can share a table, Valari can too. By afternoon, the table was ready. It stood tall in the center of the junkyard, under a wide solar tarp that kept the sun soft and warm. Old crates became chairs. An old cargo container became a kitchen. People started arriving, not soldiers, not spies, families, workers, children, human and non-human alike. Even a few Valari hidden survivors who saw the broadcast and followed the signals. They came with small bags, with food, with gifts, with cautious smiles. One stepped forward. An older Valari woman. Her voice shook as she saw Kriez. I thought I was the last. He smiled and held out his hand. You're not an Asar. That night, the table was full. Plates passed hand to hand. Voices laughed in 3 different languages. A human child gave Laura a necklace made from old computer chips. She giggled, then placed it around Kriez's neck. Now, your family. Leader? He looked at Rain. Is that a thing? Rain grinned. It is now. As stars appeared above, the colony governor stood and lifted a glass. A toast, she said. To those who remind us what humanity means. She nodded at Kriez. And Rain, to courage, kindness, and new beginnings. Everyone raised their glasses, even Kriez, who had learned the word just yesterday. Cheers, he said, slightly awkward but proud after the meal. People sat around a small fire pit made from an engine shell. Someone played music. Someone told jokes. Rain leaned back, arms crossed. Feels like home, he said quietly. Kriez looked around. It is, Rain chuckled. And to think, I found you living under a broken satellite dish. Kriez smirked. And I found you hiding behind your walls. Rain raised an eyebrow. Tough words for a guest. Kriez pointed to the table. I built that. I live here now. Rain nodded. Fair enough. They sat quietly for a moment. Then, Rain asked, so what now? You've got data, maps, other Valari out there. Kriez thought about it. We help them, slowly, one at a time, and we help the humans too, if they'll let us. Rain gave him a look. After what you did here, I think they'll more than let you. Later, when the fire was low and most people had left, Kriez stood alone at the edge of the junkyard. He looked up, stars blinked. Gently above, he remembered watching them from this same spot, cold, scared, and alone. Now, he had a home. Not because of a ship, not because of a fight, because a human. Made space at a table. Because someone saw more than skin or species. Because someone believed he belonged. Laura came up beside him. Are you sad? She asked. No, he said. I'm full. She giggled. Too much food. Kriez smiled. Too much. Everything. She held his hand. Tea. I'm glad we came here. So am I, he said. They turned and walked back toward the glowing lights. Toward warmth. Toward laughter. Toward home.